Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, and an exciting day on the timeline, no doubt about it. A lot of discussion yesterday between current pros and former professional players with regards to the champs format we have this season compared to in past seasons, and what exactly the CDL should do to make a much better experience for the fans, but also for the players themselves. And tweet your thoughts in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoy the video, subscribe if you're new as always, I greatly appreciate it. Already up on the channel, thank you very much indeed for doing that. First of all, wanted to mention this from the subliners. I think we were hoping really that this video, which was only 3.5 minutes of Zuma going around the LAN environment to the Arlington in Texas, to, well, the Arlington Stadium or whatever exactly it was called, to, yeah, go around and talk to some of these pros was a very entertaining stuff, and I think next time around we'd hope this would be 33.5 minutes rather than 3.5, but I imagine they'll try and do something similar for the Stage 5 LAN relatively shortly. Wanted to mention this as well then, because this is, I believe, starting today, the World Series of Warzone. Could be a great opportunity for crossover really between the competitive scene and the more casual Warzone side of things, because there's a lot of viewers that watch Warzone on a regular basis that haven't necessarily been introduced to competitive Call of Duty. Good opportunity for that to happen though, because we've got a lot of pro players, you know, current and past, actually competing in this one. So $300,000 on the line. There's some sort of a situation where if you come first, you get like 2 times kill. So I wonder exactly how this will make the whole situation play out, like what the strategy will be here. I don't usually watch this type of stuff, but generally this is, well, I think it's pretty exciting really with a lot of the pro players that we have indeed playing in this one. As TB says, playing with Octane Crimsix in the World Series of Warzone tomorrow. And these are some of the other teams that Chrome points out. So Scump, Formal Karma, Nadeshot, Slasher and Kenny, Asim, Clay and Zuma, Methods, Slackton, Ricky, Crimsix, Team and Cloaksy. We just mentioned Aqua, Theory and Tiny, Rated Aiden and Huskers. I mean, that's a pretty stacked team. Tommy, Noobs and Armand, and then Blast, Tifu and Pyman. So some of these guys, of course, Tommy and Blaz have competed for a number of years on, well, in the competitive Call of Duty scene before moving over there. So potentially a great opportunity for some crossover here. Something that I'm pretty happy to see that the CDL has, well, finally implemented, or Activision are finally getting around to putting on some sort of Warzone tournaments of this caliber. Let's talk about this then that Crow mentioned yesterday, because I thought it was very interesting. We don't really know what's going on. We saw a roster move happen yesterday with Los Angeles Guerrillas. They brought out, well, Chino, they brought Mental into their team. Will LA Thieves do something similar? Because this current squad with TJ and the team, they went to LAN. Of course, they couldn't play with Huke because, well, the whole situation happened with the misspelling of the name that Crowd's kind of joking about in this tweet right here. But what happens to Thieves? Do they decide to make another move? I mean, honestly, they made so many moves at this point, like I wouldn't be surprised if they just pull the trigger on something. Who knows if a JCap decides to put himself in the team and to, you know, bring in like a Naval back, bring Nadeshot back and put Mudog in the squad as well and just go full meme team. And yeah, maybe they'll actually, well, I suppose they'll bring in a fair few viewers. But anyway, as Crone says right here, TJ benched again, question mark, because Tom Gravity, one of the top amateur, you know, assault rifle players in the scene for the last several years, if not the top one. Tell Tej to team with me, he says, kind of implying that maybe he thinks that TJ is no longer in the Pro League and actually is down there in the Challenger side, which it may be the case if he got benched off the team. Who knows if that's happened or not, but Drazah coming into the team would not surprise me at all, and is Huke back misspelled as course as Crone for the memes. And where is Venom, right? Another player that was very serviceable for Thieves earlier on, but they decided to bench him. Is that a possibility that he comes back in? Find out on the next episode of Road to 100 roster moves, which is what they're trying to do here over the next couple of seasons. They're certainly making good headway so far this season, no doubt about that. Thought this is kind of funny as well from the Wester guys. 100 Thieves make roster changes like they are. Wester, hey now, at least we have won something. And Thieves, of course, not yet got the luxury to do that in the Pro League, but of course, yeah, I suppose as Envoy would say, Wester dominating at least the early part of the season, the little leagues. Let's talk about what Octane had to say then. So some thoughts on the recent major, the champs format, as how, you know, and also how they played on the weekend. So of course, Octane, a lot of frustrations, right? I think he goes into quite some depth here. The fact he's super frustrated about looking so good this weekend on LAN and having so many great results. I mean, obviously they had like 2 great results up against London and Paris, but those are teams that they've struggled to get past online. Then they go to LAN and have a great time of things, right? So of course you can say that they're significantly above those teams. At the same time, they now do go back to the online environment, which is obviously not ideal for them. And you know, can they maintain the same performance? Because online is still incredibly important in the structure of the season, because all the group play matches are done online. Only the majors for here on out are going to be done on LAN. Who knows what happens next season? But still, that's going to be the case for Stage 5. So you've still got to be a good online team. But that's the thing, right? If you are Octane right now, I'm sure you're very frustrated the fact that you're not going to the World Championship. We talked about that in, you know, to some degree the other day, but he talks about quite a lot of other issues regarding the World Championship as well. The fact that nowadays it's there's so many less matches played by the top teams. Like you look at the major this past weekend, FaZe had to win 3 series to win the entire major. They start in the second round of winners, they win that one, they go to the winners finals, they win that one, they go to the grand finals. Like FaZe and Toronto, all they had to do is win 1 series and they were guaranteed top 3 at the very least at the major, and of course they've earned it to some degree, which I kind of of get for the format for the regular season, but for the World Championship, I was certainly hoping that wouldn't be the case. I was thinking, okay, only 8 teams go to champs. Let's have like a proper double elimination type gauntlet. Maybe you throw the teams into like group play early on, and I don't know how exactly you do that, because obviously you want the seeding to be important, and you want the regular season seeding to be important, right? You want that's probably the reason why they have the bottom 4 teams right now not making the World Championship, is because look, they actually want the regular season matches to mean something and have something to fight for, and actually, you know, give some incentive to teams to get better, rather than saying, okay, we're going to go to champs anyway. Doesn't really matter if we're 12th or we're 9th. Whereas, whereas if you're 9th, you can actually have a chance to get 8th, right, which actually makes you to the World Championship. So there's obviously a lot of considerations here, and they're trying to make it like normal sports. But I think a lot of people, especially Calm, will look at in a second after I share the clip from Octane, is looking back at a few years ago when it used to be an absolute gauntlet to win the World Championship, and nowadays it's so much easier to do so, to be honest, if you just get good seeding, which of course the FaZe guys are in prime position to do so.
I feel like there's minimal effort required to have every team there, especially since there's only 12 teams. So I don't think that the format currently is good. FaZe has to win like 2 series again. The fact, like, I don't think that having to win that amount of series for a world championship is something that should ever be a thing, ever. I think that's just a horrible idea. I think coming through winners bracket in major grand finals and having a disadvantage is also another thing. Like having to play the team who's fresh off like 2 series wins when you have no scrims all day because who the f gonna play you, and you're just sitting there watching while, you know, the other team comes off, like I said, 2 series wins. Like, I just don't see the point of having no advantage. There needs to be like a up 1-0 kind of situation. I don't know. There needs to be some form of trade-off to having a winner's advantage in majors, if that makes sense. But back to the champs format, I don't think that having 8 teams there is a good idea. I think that a lot of people will agree with me on that. I think that like just the amount of teams in esports compared to actual sports, I don't think it's a comparable thing that you can really make an argument for. I understand the principle behind it. Like, why would you have a dog team throughout the entirety of the regular season go to the World Championship? I understand that concept, but like it's not the same thing, if that makes sense. Like COD champs in the past, I've always compared to March Madness. Like you would go and it's a gauntlet. It's supposed to be a grind for a World Championship. You don't show up, win your 2 series, like, hey guys, we're world champions now. Like, that doesn't, obviously I've never won a World Championship. I can't speak on people that have, but like just the grind of like a BO4 100 Thieves losers run, like that, man. Like just the gauntlet of Call of Duty that has to be played and won to win a world championship in previous titles just feels so much better as a viewer and a player, in my opinion. But
so this is what Karma has to say yesterday. 7 series and 3 group matches. Now you win 3 and you are number 1. So this is like what the bracket used to look like a couple of years ago. This is when OpTic won their world championship back in 2017 in Infinite Warfare. So before this, they went into a group where there was 8 groups of 4 teams. You play 3 round robin games in the group play, and then based on the seeding from that, you then play another team in the winners round 1. So they played Mindfreak Black, then they played Splice, then they had to beat FaZe, then they lost to Envy, then they went down to losers finals, had to beat LG there, and then beat Envy in 2 best of 5s to win the grand final. So to win a world championship back in the day, it was very impressive. You had to like go through so much stuff in the gauntlet of the CWL times, and like when you won the world championship, it was very much deserved, right? You really worked for it, you really went through all these series, and you got some crazy losers runs as well. Like this was Infinite Warfare, but in Black Ops 4, for example, in 2019, the losers run that 100 Thieves had, they lost in the very first round, I'm pretty sure, to like LG or something. They made a crazy run all the way through losers, all the way to the grand finals before losing to United. So like there were some crazy things that used to happen on LAN for these actual world championships, where if you won, it was like, wow, okay, fair play, you put on a great show. Even like Evil Geniuses, people talk about it being a fluke or whatever in 2018, and yes, probably you run that tournament a load of times, it doesn't happen too many times, but at the end of the day, they really had to work for that victory, right? They got a nice bracket for sure, but they won all the matches they had to, and it wasn't a situation like you get today where you're probably going to come in right here. This is the bracket, I believe, for last year's World Championship. Will it be the same this year is yet to be seen, but of course they allowed all the teams to go last year, so that's where you get some of these teams down here in the lower side, which they added in. This year, they may well go down the route of the same bracket, but not even bother with some of these teams in the lower side not being here, right? So you only got 8 teams arriving, and as you can see, Atlanta and Dallas, and I'm pretty sure from what at least the pros are saying, it's a very similar thing this season, that the top tier teams just get a bye straight through. So firstly, there's the whole question of whether the the bottom tier teams should be allowed to go. We'll discuss that a little bit more in a second. But it's also the fact that, look, if Atlanta and Dallas, and so these are the top 2 seeds last season, and of course Dallas only had to win 3 series last year, beat Toronto, beat Atlanta, and then beat Atlanta again to win the entire World Championship. Yes, you could argue they've earned this great seeding throughout their performances throughout the entire season, but that's not how Call of Duty has been traditionally. Even if you have some advantage by seeding going into the major or going into the World Championship, you still have to really work for the victory. And I get that they want to give some advantage to these teams, but a lot of the time it just makes it relatively boring, especially because the best teams in the game, you want to see them play the most, right? That's theoretically how it should be. Whereas a lot of the time it's actually the complete opposite, where the top teams you get to see them play the least, because they play later in the matches, I suppose, later in the tournament, and they also play less matches, I suppose, to even win the entire thing. So it's really strange to me, and this is kind of why I say that second seed is super important, because as Clay says, like, FaZe are going to be first seed by a million points, no problem about it, but the second seed battle is super important because that gets you the double round bye, I'm pretty sure, in a similar bracket to here, and there's been a lot of complaints about this. The other side of the thing is, as Crim says right here, let all 12 teams compete at the World Championship, right? Saying that, look, these bottom 4 teams, things are different now going to this LAN environment. These teams should be given an opportunity, right? And I'm sure in regular sports it's not necessarily done like this. You want the regular season to count for something, no doubt, but back in the day, champs, like, it was always traditionally, like, you'd have playoffs, which was the best teams from the actual, like, the regular season, the pro teams, and then champs would be all the 16 pro teams, plus another 16 amateur teams that would come in and have a chance to make it by qualifiers and stuff like this. So champs was always like a celebration of Call of Duty. It was always like, okay, here are all the best pro teams, here are all the best amateur teams, and I get that in a franchised arena, there's no way they're ever going to put amateur teams there. That is just how it is. But it used to be like a celebration of COD. Nowadays, it's like, okay, we get the top 8 teams in, 4 teams can't even go and show like what they're made of, right? Even if they've been improving rapidly. Let's say like Seattle come in and win this last major, but Florida win like 5 series this entire season. Like, Seattle still don't make it to champs, even if they win the entire thing. So it's situations like that where you've got to think that maybe all the teams should be allowed to go. Crimsix actually maybe surprisingly agrees, given that you would imagine a lot of the pros in favour of this would have been the ones lower down right in those bottom 4 seeding positions. As Chrome says though, doesn't Octane do a YouTube challenge of pros? What's the bet Crimsix lost today? As ILLey says, wasn't even a part of the series. Crim is just that guy in favour of it, and well, Crone, I'm pretty sure, tweeted it out as well. I thought this was kind of funny actually. Yeah, so Crone tweets this out. I thought I'd just finish off with this, which is pretty funny that Crone tweeted also. I saw this Now You Have To as well, a naked Malzaros without the beard from a couple of years ago. But yeah, intriguing your thoughts down below. Should all the teams be allowed to go to champs? And what do you think about this format that they're probably going to go with again? I'm just, it doesn't quite feel the same. It doesn't quite feel the same for fans. It doesn't quite feel the same for pros. That, as Karma's saying, like, they had to win so many series back in the day to take home a world championship. It really felt like something. Nowadays, you just win a few series against some key teams and you're there because you've got great seeding. Which, yes, it makes sense, but I really think you should have to earn it. I think it's better for fans if you get the top teams playing more matches. But that's just my perspective. I suppose the CDL sees things differently, and I'd love to hear your perspective down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. It really helps out the YouTube algorithm to know you enjoy this content. Other people like you may enjoy this content as well, and have grown the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always. Take care, and I will see you next time.